Serious, what is the most successful lie in history?
When the Allies tricked Germany into thinking D-Day was happening at other locations, which weakened their defenses at the primary landing points.
The harder you work, the more you will get. The highest paying position in a company requires no work at all. No matter how hard you work, you can never get there.
Religion.
Milk doesn't increase bone, don't improve eyesight. That's a WW2 myth.
Laws are designed to ensure that everyone is treated fairly and equally.
Trojan horse comes to mind.
Deaf believed the carrot won for a long time.
You need to buy a stone on a ring to show some form of dedication.
That is harmful to your diet. That was just false information. And by trying to replace fats with sugar, obesity became an epidemic.
It's not you, it's me.
For me, it's that turning in the light in the car is illegal. Spoiler alert, it isn't.
One that we'll never know was a lie.
Iceland and Greenland.
Santa Claus.
Catherine the Great died having with a didn't, and this was known at the time. But a number of her contemporaries, mostly British and French leaders, who respected neither Russian nor female rulers, started the rumor in order to sully her, since the first thing that comes to a lot of people's minds when they think of Catherine the Great is the horse story. The lie worked.
Yes, blow up tanks in a ghost army. Operation Mincemeat was pretty awesome too.
It was sugar companies that actually funded that whole campaign to demonize. Just like there used to be ads about how, not at all bad, high fructose corn syrup is.
Is bad for you. Sugar is okay. Have 11 servings of bread per day.
That money doesn't buy happiness. Just a lie spun around by rich people, so middle class, lower class people never go after it and buy into the delusion of money not being the answer to their problems when, in fact, it very much is. Same goes for countless other we've been taught for knows how to everyone saying that it doesn't. Tell that to people who are poor, barely have anything to their name and are struggling to survive. I stand by my statement. It may not buy happiness to you and others, but as someone who has grown up in absolutely nothing, money is the reason I was deprived of happiness, so the statement holds true for me. And I'm sure most third world country citizens would agree with me, as I belong to one as well. Not all truths are universal, I suppose.
I would say the science points to a strong possibility of a definite maybe that this may be fiction with a healthy root of truth.
Well, carrots are a source of vitamin A precursors, and vitamin A deficiency results in a condition known as night blindness. So, while carrots don't improve eyesight, per se, they can help maintain it as part of a healthy diet.
I'm not looking to date right now. Then why the F does your profile say, looking for my future husband? Edit. I get it, lots of men react horribly when women tell them they're not into him specifically. Still bruises the ego. Granted, bruised ego is the huge lesser of two evils when compared to feeling threatened with bodily harm.
And it was so successful that the Allies didn't want to reveal it was a ruse in case they needed to use it. They sent out messages, knowing they'd be intercepted, saying that Normandy had been a diversion landing but was showing so much success that the ghost army intended for the fake Calais landing was being diverted to the Normandy area, and that the Calais landing was scrapped.
Frank Abagnale, the inspiration for Catch Me If You Can, apparently wasn't as big of a con man that the movie leads you to believe. He conned people into thinking he was a bigger con man than he actually was.
McDonald's used to fry their French fries in beef tallow, which was the traditional and authentic French fry method in Europe. However, a cardiologist made it his personal vendetta to sue McDonald's for causing heart disease by frying with beef tallow. The case dragged for years, and ultimately, McDonald's switched to a vegetable. Result was an inferior taste and texture and has been found to be a less healthy, more carcinogenic fry. The beef tallow was totally fine and made the fry much gained profits, as the new vegetable oil was much cheaper, so it has stayed that way.
Trickle-down economics.
High fructose corn syrup isn't inherently bad. Its chemical composition, which is about 50% glucose and 50% fructose, is just about identical to the chemical composition. Of problem is that HFCS is cheap to make, and it is used in large doses in almost every food out there. HFCS is added in large quantities to substitute for low content. HFCS is cheaper than oil and fats, So now almost every mildly processed and processed foods contain a lot of this stuff. It becomes easy for someone to ingest a lot of HFCS in the course of a day without thinking that they're piling on sugar on an otherwise non-sweet food. This stresses the insulin mechanism and leads to diabetes in the population.
Greenland may not be green, but Iceland sure as is icy.
Cigarettes don't cause cancer, successful because of the money they made off that lie.
That hard work alone will bring you success, wealth.
That getting yourself in crazy debt at 18 years old to go to college is the only path to success in life.
That lobbying isn't just bribery with extra steps.
Vaccines causing autism.
It says here in this history book that, luckily, the good guys have won every single time. What are the odds? Norm Macdonald.
It's just cause it's hard to see out the windshield at night with the light on inside, and your parent figured just telling you it was illegal would make you stop turning it on so you could see your Game Boy.
That was kind of the point of the ads though. Doctors were noting the large amounts of HFCS being put into foods and cautioned people about. The corporations responded with an ad campaign saying it was no worse than sugar, glossing over the amount of it they were using, and the fact that being no worse than sugar isn't better when you use more and more.
That diamonds are rare and you should spend 3 months' income on a diamond engagement ring. My now wife would have shot me if I spent 18 grand on a ring.
And that stone is rare. De Beers have been hoarding enough diamonds to flood the market for decades and decades. In fact, I don't know if you can even confidently say what's a blood diamond anymore, since mining dates may have been older.
Bush claiming that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
Germany went to war, with whom you might ask? The world, and you'd think the world would just win in about 5 seconds, but they were actually.
In the 90s, kids spread the rumor that Marilyn Manson had a rib removed so he could his own. We spread this rumor across the entire country without the use of cell phones or the internet.
He was funny and smart.
Iceland has a couple of glaciers, no more than say New Zealand, pretty green 90% of the time.
Is mincemeat the one where they dressed up a corpse as a military officer and planted fake plans on it and set it floating towards Italy or something?
Then they turned around and did it again, a decade later despite barely getting any strength back. And they were closer.
That black people and watermelon are racist stereotypes. The truth is that when the slaves were freed, they grew and sold watermelon as a way to earn money to feed, clothe and house themselves. The watermelon was actually a symbol of freedom and self-reliance for newly freed slaves. What happened was that the former owners saw this and started a propaganda campaign to turn white people away from buying food, as they called it. It's probably one of the earliest examples of the press manipulating the truth for its owners. This is where the big lips and eating like animals pictures came from. When black people started selling chickens, the same thing happened. Only this time it came in movie form. The black people and fired chicken thing started in Birth of a Nation, the racist movie. What should be symbols of freedom and self-reliance to a people struggling after centenaries of slavery were twisted into symbols of shame. So much so that 100 years later they are both still seen with negative connections.
That the 1% are to blame. The top 1% make $600K per year. That's a lot. But it's not the problem. The problem is the guy with 6B. The guy who makes 10,000x what the top 1% makes. And some guys have another 40x times that money. The difference from $600K and 6B is the same percentage as $60 to $600,000. The problem isn't the top 1%, which is 3M people. The problem is, the top 300 people. All the money is funneling to them, and letting them hide in the top 1% is the biggest lie and con there ever was.
There's actually not much archaeological evidence of there having been a Greek vs Trojan War at all. We know that there was a city called Troy in modern-day Turkey, but there definitely doesn't appear to be evidence that would suggest anything like a 10-year siege as described in the Greek history. Is kinda interesting, because there's so much mythology and legend sprinkled through it that you know are fictional, but a lot of the events do have a nugget of truth too. But I think a lot of people assume more of it is based in reality than it actually is.